people will do it if it's close to their hearts.
It's probably the most enjoyable work that we do. So I definitely think you get something out of it.
To act in a charitable manner can be defined as showing generosity and helpfulness, especially towards those who are less fortunate. For many of us, our charity acts are small. We may donate clothes to local charity shops or deposit change into their collection buckets. But for some, an act of charity can grow into a larger affair. These are the individuals who selflessly give their time, energy, and resources to make a positive change in the lives of others. Although they may not seek recognition or fame, their impact on those they help is immeasurable. They are the unsung heroes walking among us, the ordinary people with extraordinary stories. Beyond Ordinary is a 2-part series that seeks to shine the spotlight on these extraordinary people and the efforts they have made to improve the lives of others. In this episode, you will hear from 2 people who are doing their part to raise money for their local communities and wider population.
My name is Elaine Burrows-Delan. I'm from Tralee. I'm an open water marathon swimmer. I suppose I was always kind of a water baby. We always had fabulous summers growing up. Obviously, it was always a beach we kind of went to rather than pools, and Dad would take us into the water and jumping off his shoulders, and the normal swimming lessons in the complex went up to them, and Michael O'Regan and Michael Moss taught me how to swim. And I think they must have seen something in me, and they went to Mum and kind of had words with her about the Kingdom Swimming Club, which was only just barely after being set up, to know would I actually be interested in joining the club. So she put me into the club, and it was history after that.
Following an absence from swimming for nearly 2 decades, Elaine re-entered the water to raise funds for a charity due to the life of someone close to her being impacted by the work this charity does.
I chose the charity because of my page boy. I suppose back in the day, I kind of said I was going to commit to a charity predominantly for kids with brain tumours. So when I did my research, it was Brain Tumour Ireland, and I got onto them and I asked them, would it be okay to raise money for them? Because I really didn't know where I stood with any of fundraising or anything. So they were super thrilled, and they were in communication with me the whole time, and they promoted me, and they did an awful lot of work as well now. And I think social media was great. We put it out there, Brain Tumour Ireland and myself, and we were trying to decide what I would commit to with the money. More than anything, I wanted an agreement with them that they wouldn't spend the money just on anything, that I would have the last say on it, and I wanted it to go towards paediatrics. So we did our research, and we spoke to Beaumont Hospital, because that's where my page boy was, and they came up with a few ideas, and that's how we committed to everything then.
Aside from fundraisers like Elaine, there are those that organise charity events on a frequent basis.
So my name is Michaela Edwards. I work with my husband, John, and we own Wild Water Adventures. We're based in Phoenix. We've always been involved in water. Like, I grew up in England, so every summer we'd come back to Kilkee in County Clare, and I'd spend the summers basically on the beach, between the beach and the farm, and it was just loving jumping in and out of the surf, and loved all that. And then when I met John, he was surfing at that stage, and he was already scuba diving, so I learned how to scuba dive, and I learned how to surf and to bodyboard, and then we did a good bit of travelling and doing the snorkeling and scuba diving, like in Mexico and Africa and Indonesia. I think it just became who we were, you know. And even when the kids were small growing up, it was all about the days of the beach and the bodyboards, and they loved the water, and so it's always been about the water.
Michaela's journey with charity began through the activities that her children were involved with, and over time, her endeavours branched out into different areas.
Well, I suppose we've done various fundraising. I was involved in the Parents' Council in my local school, and then I went into the youth club and into Girl Guides, and they all need funding, but they really were for the organisation itself, and just for running costs and stuff like that. So I feel that we started organising events because when we started out, we got a lot of support from local people. And I think that we really just want to give back to the community because we were so appreciative of how supportful everyone has been, you know, in our journey in this business, you know. And I think that was why we decided to do charity work.
When Elaine was preparing for her swim, she had only one location in mind, a location that would require immense training in order to conquer it.
First of all, when I went back swimming, straight away, it was English Channel was in my head. For me anyway, growing up, it was the English Channel, that was the dream, that was the goal. Might never have happened, but that was your dream. So I suppose for it to actually feel like it might be a reality was overwhelming. But once I went back swimming, I looked it up and I kind of did a little bit of research and I sent away for information and I got the information fairly rapid and I opened the envelope and I got such a fright, I closed the envelope and I didn't do anything for months. And I kind of was progressing with training, just myself, you know, and then I approached Kevin Williams and mentioned it to him. And he had said from the first time he saw me swimming that he felt I was a channel swimmer. And we sat down, we spoke about it. And I suppose basically from there we formed a team. And it consisted of Kevin, Ger MacDonald as my pool coach, Kevin as my sea coach, John O'Sullivan, he was part of the team, he would feed me, he was my support swimmer. And then I had my daughter, which they really don't advise, but because we go back to Dingle for the summer, back to Ballydavid, I had to continue my training there, so she got in a kayak and she worked hard with that, so I knew she was going to be okay on the boat. I had Micheál Lynch as my physio, who was just absolutely amazing altogether, and you can't do the swimming without having strength and conditioning. You need to build up your shoulders and everything else with it, so I had Wayne Murphy for that. So I had a fairly established team behind me and they were so supportive. We had meetings every so often and they had meetings with my family, and I suppose the first meeting we had, they explained to the family that it was going to be a very selfish year. I was going to have to be solely committed to my training for it to be a success because I had no muscle memory, you know, I was starting from barely training. And Kevin always said to me, it's a process, Elaine, believe in the process, trust in your team and we'll get there. And that's really what we did. Leading up to it, you know, it was like the All-Ireland is the only way I could explain it. There's such a rapport out in Feenet, the amount of swimmers and friends that came out, that went on social media. Brain Tumour Ireland sent me down T-shirts, and my friend Rose Collins, she went nuts on promoting Brain Tumour Ireland. And when you're going over to Dover, you have a week's window for your swim, so you're waiting on a weather opening. So she made up kind of a window frame, and she was going around to everybody and asking them to say bits and encouraging me. And you know, when I was getting in from my long hours, I could get in at 6 a.m. I could have one person swim with me for half an hour. I could be on my own for 2 hours. Next thing, someone else will pop up and encourage me and swim with me maybe for an hour. And it was unreal just the way everybody came together. And even the day of the swim, we had a big whiteboard and Kevin was writing with marker and such a person was asking for you, so much is raised. It just went mental the day of the swim. Absolutely unreal.
Michaela, alongside her husband John, have organised many events for charity. However, there is one event that Michaela holds close to her heart.
The Dip in the Nip is going to be the event that stands out for me, especially the first Dip in the Nip. I think it was the fact that I couldn't believe I was doing it, number one, because even though I organised it, I never actually considered how I'd feel, you know, actually dropping the towel around myself. And I was walking in the water with a friend, Catherine, and, you know, two of us had our towels around us. We were walking down to the water's edge and she looked over her shoulder and she said, "Oh my God, Michaela, everyone's naked." And we had to drop the towel. She goes, "I can't believe we're doing this." She was the same as me, and we just did it. And I think I just didn't expect to be so overwhelmed with the emotion and the empowerment of women, and, you know, how everyone felt and how thankful they were for being able to do the event and to let go of whatever was in their hearts that they wanted to leave in the water. I think it was John that came up with the idea, and it was just there always, and we just didn't know how to incorporate it or where it would come. And we did offer it once or twice to people for different things, and they didn't go for it. So when we offered it to Recovery Haven, they went for it. The Dip in the Nip was easy for us to organise because we have all the skill sets needed. I mean, you might feel that the whole thing might be overwhelming when you look at it, but like John would know, His areas of expertise, and then I look after other areas. Anything to do with technology, he doesn't do, but things like organising the safety procedures around it and getting all that down on paper. I mean, he'd have all that in his head, and I just map it out, and everything is kind of covered. So there's nothing that's very difficult. The only problem we'd ever have is organising Mother Nature, which you can't do. I think when you run an event and people turn up, I think that the feeling of gratitude that everyone actually just came and supported our event, I think is probably the overwhelming emotion that I would have. Altogether, I think we've raised over €35,000 in the last few years, and hopefully we'll grow on that and keep it going. That's our hope anyway.
While Michaela felt immense gratitude for the support she received for her event, Elaine recounts the emotion she felt when she reached the end of her Channel swim and accomplished a dream she has held since childhood.
On the night of it, I swam in and it was getting dark, and I swam into rocks at Cap Grenay, and it reminds me of Ballyhaig, the rocks in Ballyhaig. So it was dangerous to land in, but I was going to arrive in and I was going to wave my hands and I was going to pick up my stone to say I reached France. And you have to remember, once you swim in and arrive there, you have to swim back out to the boat. So you're tired. I was 12 hours 52, or 12 hours 45 for my English Channel swim. So after doing that, I had to swim back out to the boat. But the minute I arrived back on the boat, I actually died with seasickness. So I wasn't any good. And the exhaustion, I knew I was after swimming it. I knew I was after doing it. I was delighted. They were popping champagne. I couldn't drink the champagne. All I wanted to do was lie down. So they just got me to lie down on the deck. And I suppose when we got back to the apartment, they were trying to take off my hoodie and I couldn't raise my arms. My arms were sore. There was different little things. But I don't know that I got a major high after it. I really didn't, because I suppose it was so new. It was a job that was to be done and I felt I had it done. And it was the only swim that I ever didn't get a high out of. But I suppose because it was my first one and I didn't know how to react, and I suppose I was relieved it was done, I definitely didn't get the high out of it. I was one of the lucky ones. I had very experienced swimmers giving me advice. I had Steve Redmond, Ned Dennison, Jan Lazarenko. I mean, Steve is the first man to do the Ocean 7. Jan Lazarenko has the Ocean 7 done. Ned is a mind full of information. He has so many swims done, you couldn't even go through them. And they all said the same thing. No matter what, try and focus on a goal after it, because it was full time and you're going to be left with nothing. So I did try to focus on a goal. And I suppose the first few weeks were fine because there was so much hype attached to it. Like that, radio stations, newspapers were on to me. I was trying to finalise with Brain Tumour Ireland what we were going to spend the money on. So there was a lot of that. So I suppose when that calmed down, I kind of was left maybe with a bit of a low, because I did my English Channel the 10th of September and the water was getting colder, and I had hoped to do Fastnet Lighthouse, and I suppose as time was going on I knew I wasn't going to get there. And you're trying to keep up your training, you're trying to keep up your fitness, and you have no goal, so it's very hard to stay focused and try and maintain, we'll say, the training to a certain degree that you have done. So it is hard after it and you do hit a low. I have to say my team were outstanding. My family were outstanding. Mum and Dad, my brother helped with a lot of the fundraising. And obviously my husband and my 2 kids had a lot to put up with. I mean, your days are filled with, I won't say with nothing, but with a void. And I suppose, as my mother always says, you can't go around it, you have to go through it. And with support, that's really how I did it. When I did the English Channel, I raised €21,500 for Brain Tumour Ireland.
For Michaela and Elaine, the work they've done for charity has impacted them both in different ways.
I think the biggest emotional impact for me is knowing that you're making a difference. And how grateful the charities are. And what we're doing is giving up our time, and we don't charge anything or don't take anything from it for ourselves. And I think it's just that the pride, and I think the gratitude that people come, I think, as well, really, for me anyway. The gratitude that it's usually a successful event, and gratitude that people supported us in the event that we were organising. And I think that's it.
Emotionally, I suppose it really hit to the heart, because I suppose the way everybody came together, because it means so much to everybody, and the way everybody just had my back and donated, and everybody has their own personal reason for donating to it. But I was just so proud, and it was very moving to see how much was actually raised. And on the day, I mean, every time I stopped for my feed, I mean, it was going up by the thousands, and it was just major. You know, it was fabulous.
I think I felt the most pride was for the dip in the nip, and it was just that sense of watching people coming together, you know, and celebrating being a woman, and also a lot of them, their journeys through cancer, or supporting other people through their journeys, or remembering a loved one who had passed through cancer. And I think the emotions, watching people and all the different emotions, and even my own, you know, I wasn't expecting to be so overwhelmed by that sense, and I think it was just the pride of being involved with something so special.
It boiled down to the communication with Brain Tumour Ireland, and I mean, they were telling me about kids that were sick and kids that needed help, and what they were doing, and how money that will go forward will actually help them, you know. And I suppose to think that I was in the situation where I had thrown myself into it, and I just wanted to do everything I could and raise as much as I could, and it takes over, and yeah, you are filled with so many different emotions with it.
Michaela and Elaine both live hectic lives and find it important to step away from time to time and visit a place that has significance to them.
Today we're here in Minnecahan Pier. It's on North Kerry Head. It's a beautiful part of North Kerry. It's full of islands and caves. And the cliffs are spectacular, and the secret beaches, beautiful secret swimming spots. So I would consider this area very special to us. We used to come here a lot. We had an old Volkswagen camper in our early 20s before we had all our children, and we used to come here and park up and explore the coastline. We used to see many of the sunset and many of the sunrise here, walking along the cliffs by night as well, and just exploring the coastline when the tide is out, or getting in for a swim or a snorkel and stuff like that. And it was many happy times spent here in my youth.
At the minute, we're down at the slip in Feenet. Well, Feenet is set in Tralee Bay. It's halfway more or less between Blenaville and the Maharees. It's a little alcove with a pier on one side and a marina, and there used to be diving boards years ago at the other end of it. Well, I'm from Tralee, and when I was a child, and swam in the pool all winter, and after the Nationals, once we had break time, we totally directed ourselves out to here. So I grew up out here. We brought our sandwiches, cycled out, swam from the slip to the pier and back every day during the summer. So I suppose growing up here, I had the respect and appreciation for the area, and I'm only just delighted that now, as an adult, that I came back to the area and that I really love the area.
So we come here a lot, say maybe every few weeks during the winter, just checking it out, going for a walk, and then during the summer we would run tours here daily, co-steering tours. The odd time we might do kayaking tour, but the conditions have to be just perfect because there's no way out of the water. So, and because it's cliffs, you just have to have an extremely calm day. So we can't really, it's very hard to organise a tour like that the conditions would be favourable. And sometimes we bring people here swimming. When you first go in the water here, you'd feel very cold because there's no beach or anything like that. It's actually colder here than maybe going in Banna or somewhere like that. But once you get in and you get used to the temperature, it's beautiful. And I think once you get in, and once the tide is in especially, and you're going in around the sea arches or in around the little inlets, it's just that feeling of being at one with nature. And also the immensity and, you know, how blessed we are to live in such a beautiful part of Ireland and indeed the world. So when I'm in the water, I try to kind of be in the moment because I have 5 kids and we're running a business, and there's always somebody pulling off you looking for something, you know, you're always, I must do this, I must do that. And I love kayaking around here, you know, it's spectacular. And I think you just have to be in the moment. And I try to be in the moment because I can't do anything else. I can't be on the computer and I can't answer that email and I can't do anything else when I'm there. So I really just try to be the moment and enjoy and to feel the immenseness of nature around me and just try to relax.
I come to Feenet every day. During my training, twice a day. If I wasn't swimming, I give a spin out here. I'd come to meet someone for a coffee. Kevin is out here every day. I come out to Kevin for a chat, meet everybody. You know, it's very rare that I'm not here now, to be fair. And like that, when I'm in my peak of training, I could be in here for 3 or 4 hours, go home to sleep and back in for another 3 or 4 hours. You know, I think I spend more time in the water here than I do on land here. I suppose when I drive into the car park and you have the chats above before your swim and everybody wants to do the same thing, they're all getting ready to get into the water. And I suppose at the start you're apprehensive. The air might be cold, there might be a breeze, it might be raining. And the hardest part, I suppose, is to walk down in your togs down into the water, because you're only after taking off your clothes after getting out of a warm car. But once you get into the water, it takes you. You know, you're just here and you just feel the volume of the water. Just, for me, I just want to get out further and further. It just takes me. I suppose the minute you dip your toes into water, no matter who you are, you're going to feel a chill. I don't care who you are. And then it takes you a few seconds to get down, but there's a massive sense of freedom. You know, I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't get in that just doesn't feel the excitement or the freedom or just the feel-good factor. I mean, for me, when I get in, just let me loose, just let me out there, and it's just phenomenal. You know, I just love it. Let me out anywhere. It's just brilliant.
Water plays an integral role in the lives of Michaela and Elaine. It has served as the inspiration behind their charity work and is where they most feel at home.
I'm very confident when I go in the water because I wouldn't put myself at risk. So I'd always know where I'm getting in, where I'm getting out, the conditions on the day. I'd never go out of my comfort zone, and always make sure I was with somebody or somebody knew where I was, or, you know, so I always feel confident because I don't put myself in danger. Well, you see, I think because of the business that we're in and the way we run our events, it's actually easy to run our events because we run all the events to our skill set. And I feel that the fact that it's easy makes it more enjoyable. I love the sense of community. I'm always very grateful for everyone who turns up and participates. And I think I take a certain pride in the fact that people enjoy themselves. But mostly, I guess, I really do think I'm just grateful that people come and they participate in the event. And it's lovely. It's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, I would like to think for myself, without sounding cocky, I would like to think I feel my best in the water. I feel confident. Obviously, you respect the sea. You don't feel overly confident because you never know in that form of confidence. But as for myself, yeah, I feel confident. It's what I feel I do best and it's what I love. And I would like to think that I would be confident at that, because I think when I'm doing my big swims, you have to be confident, because if you have any form of doubt, you're not going to accomplish a swim. So it's all practice and it's all training to actually feel confident in it. But I think it comes naturally to me in the water because it is my happy place and it is my feel-good factor and it is what I feel I do good, and it's something that I've come back to and I just want to progress with it. So yeah, I do honestly feel confident. I'm giving back to people because there's more getting in the water, or I would hope that I'm enticing people to get into the water a little bit more, and for them to have a little bit of what I'm feeling would be brilliant. And as I always say, people are getting into the water and you don't know how they're feeling, but you can always tell how they're feeling when they're getting out of the water because they're always smiling. But with what I started doing, as in when I came back swimming and doing it for a charity, I suppose I was very proud of myself to actually accomplish what I did and to do it and to build it up from nothing, but to do it for a charity, and because the charity is so close to my heart, that I suppose it's a feeling that it's very hard to explain. That no words can describe it. You know, it's very close to my heart, and it takes up part of my heart always, and I'm just very proud to have been able to do what I did.
Charity plays an essential role in the lives of Michaela and Elaine. They don't use it as a way to gain recognition, but as a way to purely benefit the lives of others.
Charity work means a lot to me, in the sense that we're giving something back to the community. We're feeling that we're making some bit of a difference.
Any charity is worth fundraising for because, I mean, there's so many people in need. I just think if you can at all, it's very important to raise money for them.
Throughout this piece, we have seen that there are people in this world who are beyond ordinary. They go above and beyond to help others. From Elaine's efforts to raise money for Brain Tumour Ireland and Michaela's work to fundraise for her community, these women have changed the lives of many. They understand there is always more to be done to help those in need. They are willing to put in the time and efforts to make a difference. Their charitable actions have touched the lives of many and will continue to do so for years to come. As we move on, it is important to remember that although we may feel ordinary, we all have the capabilities to do extraordinary things. This project was submitted to MTU Kerry Campus in part fulfilment of the requirements for a BA in TV, radio and new media. A special thank you to Donncha Toomey, Deirdre Boyle, Liam McCarthy, Martha Spangler and Radio Kerry Studios for their help and guidance.